And without further ado, Tim Lagasse is here. He is at the news desk. And hi, Tim. Welcome.
How we doing?
Good.
Thanks for having me.
So this is your second time on the show, of course.
Yeah.
You were on with Authentic Descent, and that was, how long ago was that? That was
a couple weeks ago, I think. I was looking at the video. I think it was 2:20.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. So a few weeks. Yeah, I lose track of time.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. So that's great band. I really like Authentic Descent a lot. But now you've got this other project, Downhill Rollers, and is this I know this is like a solo thing. Is this all you? Like, did you play all the instruments?
Yeah.
Wow. I've always been jealous of you guys who can play multiples. Like, I'm a bass player, and it's the only thing I'm really good at.
Yeah.
I can play a little bit of guitar, and that's about it. But so you play everything on that. That's amazing.
Yeah. So I do cheat on the drums. You know, I don't play the drums, but I had a class back in high school, and it was a recording class. So I used GarageBand, and we built patterns and this and that, and it started with drum tracks. So I learned all the things that the drums do.
Yeah.
I just don't know how to make my hands and feet work that way. So I have my keyboard and my MIDI, so I plug in all my drum patterns that way, not just like, you know, a drum machine. Like I'm making the beats, but
okay. Yeah, it is amazing what you can do with it's funny, I don't know if you know Ricky Mapleton. He's from the area, and he was on the show. This was a number of months ago, and kind of a similar thing where I noticed, you know, I remember asking him who played drums on his music because it sounded live. I just assumed it was live drums, you know, and he told me kind of the same thing. He uses GarageBand and it's MIDI, and it's like, wow, you can really get a pretty good drum sound. I wouldn't have known if you hadn't told me. I would have thought that was a live drum kit or
that's
you had
really
a drummer.
good to hear. You know, I never know because I listen to everything. So I know when I plugged in just a word, I know the drum beats and stuff. So sometimes when I listen, I'm like, well, I don't know if other people could tell, you know. So It's nice to hear that. It's amazing what you can do with the technology now, you know, because you couldn't do this in the 80s, probably not the 90s either. And then, you know, these days I don't really have time to put together a whole group and learn these songs and this and that. And then, you know, you kind of course, there's compromises when you play with other people too. This is
right.
I write all the songs. I record them all. They sound the way I want them to. And with the technology, it's nice to be able to do that.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. When did you start this project? Have you been, because I assume you were probably in other bands before Authentic Descent, right? So, obviously you've been in multiple bands, but when did you start doing this where it's all you, all yourself?
So I had actually, I think in 2020, I put out a little country album, like an outlaw country, kind of like Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's where I really learned that, you know, I was kind of building all the pieces. I didn't really have the keyboard yet. I was playing a djembe and this and that.
Yeah.
Till I got the keyboard, and I just started building and building and building. Now Downhill Rollers kind of extended from a band that I had in college, the Mabel Brown Room, we were called.
Okay.
A lot of the songs, I think the only new song I wrote for that album was Abandoned Heroes. Everything else there was a few songs that I had played with the band in college. And then there were all the other songs were ideas that I had, 4 songs for that band that we never got to.
Okay.
So I just kind of recycled it back into the mix, worked out different pieces and put it all together. And I ended up with 8 songs. And then I did a cover of Pink Floyd's Young Lust too. I threw that on there because I feel like 8 songs is a little too short. You need at least 9, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, 8. It's like between an EP and a full length. It's like in that awkward spot where it's like, oh, what do you call it? Do you call it an EP? Do you call it a full length?
Yeah, and that's I wanted to have like an album.
Yeah.
You know? So I tried to push that extra 9. So I'm actually working on another album. Hopefully I'll get it out within the next few months, but things are slow. But another 9 songs, no covers this time. But
wow.
I'm really excited about that one. So
yeah. Have any of the bands you've been in, did any of them sound like Downhill Rollers? Or I should say, I guess the correct way to ask it would be, does Downhill Rollers sound like anything you had done before?
Yeah, for the most part. At least that album is, I think, very similar to what we were playing as the Mabel Brown Room in college. And
Okay.
stuff. That just kind of old hard rock kind of feel.
Yeah.
The new album I'm working on, I think, is a little heavier, more towards the metal side, but I try to straddle the line between hard rock and kind of traditional heavy metal, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I want to ask you about my personal favorite of your music and downhill rollers is Savages. That's why I opened the show today with it. I love that song.
Thank you.
I'm curious about the lyrics because the first time I listened to it, I mean, I don't know if it's about a specific experience that you had or if it's more just a general thing, but my first thought was the music industry. I'm listening to the lyrics and I'm thinking, people always say the music industry is full of savages.
Yeah.
And I've just wondered, and obviously it's the kind of thing where, and that's a wonderful thing about art. It can mean whatever you want it to mean.
Yeah.
As the person enjoying the art. But I was just curious what you had in mind when you wrote that.
So it's funny you say that because I try to write everything. I usually have specific events or situations in mind, but I try to write it in sort of a vague way, but still getting a message across so, everybody can have their own kind of meaning to it.
Yeah.
For me, actually, it was more of, back when I was younger, I had a lot of like trust issues and stuff within relationships, this and that.
Sure.
Whatever, I'd been cheated on a couple of times. So I kind of had like, what do they call them? I think, like home wreckers.
Yeah.
In mind, like you barge in like monsters and try to take what's mine, stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the second verse is kind of more focused on, now maybe I feel like I'm with a person who I can trust, but I'm kind of predisposed to thinking there's something behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I had going on when I had written that one.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, I think most people can relate to just generally that, everyone has people in their lives who have wronged them in some way. And then it's a matter of what you do with it. And I always say, if you can take a negative that happened to you, whether it's a specific thing or just a collection of experiences that you've had, and then create something from that, whether it's music or a painting or a book or what, if you're a writer, whatever it is that you do, then it almost makes it all worth it in a sense, right? Because you get something so great. Another question about that song specifically I had is the verses are one tempo and then it seems to speed up in the chorus. Is that hard to do? I mean, I've played in a lot of bands and certainly I'm not a stranger to necessarily dealing with time changes, but there's an interesting thing in that song. It doesn't sound like, I know I'm really getting into the weeds here, but I'm just fascinated by this kind of thing. When it goes from the verse into the chorus, or maybe the pre-chorus. It doesn't sound like it's changes like suddenly. It sounds like you sort of lean into it, but it's not an immediate change, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, is that hard to pull off? When you were recording it, was that any kind of a challenge?
So anytime I do anything like that, there's a few trial and errors. Like I feel like the tempos almost have to match in a way, and I'll always do a start stop, a bah, 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 and jump into something else.
Yeah.
But I'll play with it. I'll do a few takes and play with the second tempo and see where it sounds like it fits the best, because you can do it and it's too fast and you're like, this feels too rushed and too choppy now. So just a few times I'll kind of go back and forth, and then it jumps down a little bit. And now I've never played these with anybody else too. Like when I play, I go through my DAW and I have my headphones on, so I just mute out the parts that I want to play. So it's like I have a backing band and I'm used to playing it. So I don't know if somebody else played it, if it would be tough to to jump right to that, but I'm
Right.
a little more comfortable with it. But the really tough thing I have is, now I'll switch the tempo, but how do I bring it back now? So that always trips me up, but I find a lot of times it's just you need to do a crazy little drum fill, and then it rolls right back in. So
yeah.
I'm glad I figured that one out.
Yeah, I think it's part of the magic of that song that just makes it so cool. It just works. It just works really, really well. Yeah, that's such a great tune. I mean, that's your, if you were to ask me, is there a single? I would say it's that.
That's funny.
That's your radio single on this album.
I always thought Risk was the radio single, and that was one of the ones that we played with the old band and stuff.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah.
Yeah. So we always just kind of had, I was like, oh, this is our radio song. Like if we ever get anywhere, this is the radio song,
Yeah.
I always thought Savages was like a little too dark. Maybe
No kidding.
To be on the, like just on general radio, but I don't really listen to the radio either. So I don't know what they're playing either.
Right.
I'm on Spotify all the time or, whatever it is.
You mentioned, how difficult it might be to play something like Savages with other people because of the time change. Do you have any plans to put together a band for your solo material so you can play out or no?
I think eventually, I want to get, I kind of have a bunch of material I'm working on. So I have my next album that I want to do this year. And then I've already kind of got some riffs and some things put together for the follow up to that within a year or two after that.
Yeah.
It all depends on work and how motivated I get, which is usually not very.
Yeah.
And I think part of the reason I joined Authentic Descent was to kind of cross promote myself as well,
Yeah.
Which turned, they're totally fine with it. Seems like,
Yeah, good.
Dave reached out to me after our last show and said Jenny had asked him for other solo acts and this and that.
Yeah.
So eventually, but sometimes I feel like it's a lot more work than I actually do have time for.
Yeah.
And I'm having a great time with the Authentic Descent guys. Like we're recording and stuff too. We're trying to do shows and this and that.
Yeah.
And I haven't really played out since college, so getting back with them
wow, no kidding.
was awesome.
Yeah.
Just playing with other people. So I'm really enjoying that too. So I don't think there's any rush on this. And then if I have a few albums under my belt and I do want to try to put something together, I have enough material to float by other people and, hey, what do you want to play? Obviously we could work on things together too, but I think in a way I kind of feel bad if I want to go out and do this. Like, all right, hey, these are my songs. Now you haven't touched them at all, and I want you to play them all. Like, I don't know. I almost feel like like conceited or egotistical or whatever,
Sure.
So it's kind of weird, but
Yeah, no, I can understand that. Well, you mentioned Risk. Why don't we play that one next?
yeah.
I pull it up on Spotify here, and we'll see. Who knows? Maybe I've listened to all of these, but maybe we'll hear this one again, and I'll say, you know what? Maybe this would be the single if I were advising you. But I just love that song, Savages, so much. But
Thank you.
Yeah, but we'll give this a listen. So this is Risk. This is Downhill Heroes, the solo project from Tim Lagasse, who is here with us in studio. Let's give this a listen, and then we'll come back and chat some more. Here it is, Risk. Oh, accept. There we go.
I saw you there.
That's great stuff. That is Risk from Downhill Rollers. And Downhill Rollers, Tim Lagasse, is here with us in studio. Welcome back, Tim.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love it. I get why you felt that would be the single.
It's a little more poppy in the middle and stuff, and the choruses, you know.
It is. Yeah, that's true. Are you a Kiss fan by any chance?
Yeah and no. You know, there's some of their songs are good, and then there's Paul and Gene. So
the only reason I ask is the solo on that. It just sounds a little Ace Frehley to me.
Yeah,
that's why I wondered if there was an influence there. But Kiss is my favorite band, so it's a comp. It's a comp.
All right, I'm sorry.
Oh no, don't be sorry. No, but I was just going to say it's a compliment. When I say Ace Frehley, I don't want you to take that wrong.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, my favorite band is Guns N' Roses, and we all know how Axl is. So.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Are you a big fan? Is Slash a big influence on your guitar playing?
Slash, and then I didn't start doing lead until this. So James
really?
Hetfield too, you know.
Oh, no kidding.
So I feel like my lead skills from the time this stuff was recorded to the new stuff have improved, so I think that's good too.
Oh wow, that's cool. No, I like your lead on that though. It's like it doesn't sound, I guess it reminds me of Ace because it's not like it's not like you're noodling and doing a lot of runs or anything. It's sort of straightforward, but it's good. Like it's there's a rawness to it that I personally like. And I think it works for that song. Great. And yeah, it is a little poppier, I guess, with the chorus, but it's very catchy. Yeah. So that would be a suitable radio single as well. No doubt. Can you tell me about some of your other influences?
It's a lot of the like 70s and 80s guys. You know, I did listen to Kiss a lot when I was younger. I've always listened to Guns N' Roses though. They're my go-tos, just Slash and Axl, and I liked new Guns N' Roses too when they got a little industrial. Yeah. I thought that was cool. I love the thrash metal guys, the big four, you know, Metallica. Yep. Big Anthrax fan. I like Anthrax more with John Bush in the 90s, kind of that raw. He's got that rough voice and stuff
Me too. Yeah, I'm with you.
And then John Bush's actual band, Armored Saint, like Judas Priest, all that old kind of like heavy stuff. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Is it kind of another odd sort of recording question? But when you're recording the chorus on a song like that, and it's got kind of a gang vocal vibe, is that hard to pull off? Because I just wonder if it's you, because everything is you, right? Even the backing vocals, it's all stuff. You. Is it hard to make it sound like? Because again, it's one of those things where, just like with the drums, if I didn't know it was just you doing that, I would assume maybe there were a couple of other people singing with you. You know what I mean? It doesn't sound like it's just your voice. Is that hard to do? Is that hard to pull off?
I think it was at the beginning. I think I've gotten better over it, as time has progressed. I usually just try. I worried about that a long time ago. Like, really? if it's just all my voice and there's no other people. So I kind of had over the years tried to develop a few different voices.
Okay.
So obviously like my speaking voice is pretty low, so it's easy. I always have like a really low voice, and then I'll just pan and do reverb on different harmonies and stuff, and just the way I pan them and kind of add the reverb, it kind of breaks it up a little bit from the way I set my main vocals.
Yeah.
So now that I'm kind of used to that system and how I do it, it goes by a lot quicker. I could do a whole song, and not a whole song from like ground up, but all the vocals to a song in maybe 2 hours now, where before it would take me a couple of weeks to try to tweak out everything. Now I just know how I need to set the tracks and the channels, and then I just listen back and kind of tweak some things, and it's like, all right, that kind of cuts through a little better now. So
how long does it take you to record a song? I'm sure it varies, but
it depends. I mean, I was joking with the guys when I was here with Authentic Descent, saying the writing process is slow, but man, when it's just me, it is really, really slow. Like,
really, yeah.
I think I sent you a song off the the new thing I'm working on, Release the Hounds. Now that one I cranked out within a couple of days. I had a little riff. I threw all the lyrics together real quick. Everything just came together super fast. It was like maybe 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
Where there's other things like Savages took me a really long time. That's my third time recording that from ground up. I've done it in a few stages, and it would just get to the point where I'm too far gone. It's like, let me just delete it and start over because this is a nightmare. So it took me, probably a year to get that all from start to finish. So it really depends.
Yeah. I'm looking for, so Release the Hounds is, that's a newer one. So that's not on the current album there?
Yeah, so I think I sent you Release the Hounds and Superman are both new songs that aren't on Spotify or anywhere yet. They'll be on my new album. I'm curious. So these are these similar vibe or are these a little different? I think they're a little heavier and maybe a little darker. Than definitely Risk. They fall more along the lines on Savages a bit, but they're a little more frantic and kind of fast paced too.
All right. Well, let's check this out. So since you were talking about it, I loaded this up. Let's give this a listen. So this
Cool.
is Release the Hounds, and this is going to be on the next album that you're working on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's check this out. A little different. Let's see. Here we go.
I know
Oh my God, I love it. Dude,
Cool.
that
cool.
is awesome. That
Thanks,
is
man.
Release the Hounds. That is Downhill Rollers. Tim Lagasse is here with us in studio at the news desk. The vocals on that, it sounded a little Axl Rose. I don't know if that's what you were going for, but
I think so. I kind of hurt my voice throughout the years.
Really?
And I just last year, maybe the year before, I think October 2021, I quit smoking.
Oh, good.
So
good for you.
Where Abandoned Heroes, that album, I kind of struggled to hit the notes, and now I found a way that I can sing and hit notes, and
Yeah.
and it sounds like, the throat's closed, and I kind of have that nasally thing. And I think that influence is always there anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, I guess it's how I sing now.
Yeah. How'd you quit, by the way?
My two buddies, actually, we all quit together.
Oh, good.
So, we'd go frisbee golfing and we'd all be ripping butts, and
Yeah.
like, all right, none of us are going to be able to quit unless we all just do it together. And
Oh, wow,
I think
that's
it's time.
cool.
So we all kicked it, just cold turkey. I think one of them switched to a vape for a little bit. But
Yeah. That's how a lot of people quit.
Yeah.
But so all three of you have stuck with it?
Yep.
Good for you.
I think this is the longest all three of us have made it, too.
Oh,
so.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you feel better just generally?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Excellent. Good for you, man. Let's see. Oh, in the Facebook live chat. So Stephen Light, also known as DJ Steve, says, OMG, that track kicked ass. And Jenny also, she says, kick ass song. Also, we have, how do you say this? Ikel Sedan, one of our friends from Greensboro, North Carolina in the chat room, says, hello, #Matt. Good afternoon, we say. And we are a pop girl group. We say, who is your guest? We say we are from Greensboro, North Carolina. We say, look up our Facebook like page, Eichel Sedan. We love that song. Hello, Tim, we say. Apparently,
Cool, thanks, guys.
that's how they talk in Greensboro, North Carolina. Lots of hashtags and
Got their own dialect down there,
Yeah. They have quite an AI program at the at the university there. But we love everyone who joins us in the chat room, be they human or bots. We love them all. They're a lot of fun. But yeah, I see what you mean with that track too. It's a little heavier, a little more aggressive. Really kind of just a driving song. It still amazes me that those aren't real drums. It's amazing.
The drum process is getting a lot easier as
Is it? Yeah.
time goes on now too. I think on the first one, there's some spots you can tell where I had a beat going and I forgot to put a fill, so I just whipped in a fill over it. You know what I'm saying? Where now I just kind of try to do the fills as I go along, so I don't run into that issue at the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they're sounding better and seeming more real as I go along too, which is nice.
Yeah. What is your first instrument? Did you start on guitar?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've always been a singer, and then the first instrument I played was guitar, and then I think it's easier to go from guitar to bass than it is bass to guitar, so that's how I kind of I picked up a bass at a pawn shop and started.
I mean, if you can play guitar, you can play bass. I mean, bass players hate when I say that, but I'm a bass player, so I can say that.
Now, there's different things. Like, I can't slap it or do any of those funky beats. I don't play with my fingers. I'm playing with a pick.
Yeah.
I'm mostly following the guitar. I'll try to do some some variants here and there and stuff. But then, now put me doing that against a bass player.
Oh,
who's
sure.
Slapping and finger picking, and you can do some crazy stuff. So it is a whole different world, but.
Oh, yeah. But you can get, but I mean, I started, I'm a bass player, but I started out on guitar. I told this story recently on the show. I don't remember if it was when you were here with Authentic Descent or it was somebody else, but I was talking about how I started out, I took guitar lessons when I was a kid, and I was one of those lazy kids who, if I wasn't good at something right away, I'd give up on it quickly. So not that I gave up on the guitar immediately, but I mean, I never really fully gave up on it, but I wasn't good at it right away. And then in high school, I picked up a bass, and the first time I picked up a bass, I just seem to have a natural feel for it that I don't think I would have had I not taken guitar lessons.
Yeah.
But I seen the bass, it just seemed to make sense to me. But also I remember thinking 2 less strings and I don't have to know any chords. I think I found my instrument.
Oh yeah.
And I stuck with it. And I'm a pretty decent bass player, but I can't but honestly, like I never really, like I can slap, but I'm not well,
Yeah.
like I can do the slapping and popping. I can do it, but I'm not good at it. You know what I mean? And I play with a pick.
Yeah.
I like to play. I can play without a pick. Some of the bands I was in, there might be a song or two in our set where I would finger pick, but for the most part, I prefer playing with a pick. And
Well,
again,
I think they give different, you get different sounds. So I guess if you're just trying to kind of fit the song, whatever serves the song is kind of what everybody's end game should, at least in my book, how I feel about it,
Yeah, yeah. Aaron Bilodeau is in the chat room. Do you know Aaron? He's a musician. He's a very talented bass player.
No, I don't think I'm familiar.
He's in the chat. He says, I played bass first and guitar second. It happens.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
My friend did that too. I was in a bunch of bands with him from high school to the college one, and he started on bass, and he got incredible on bass. Could slap, finger pick, play with the pick, whatever it was. He was doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and then, he switched over to guitar a little bit after college, and now the things this kid does on guitar, like I could never do.
Yeah.
Because he almost plays it like a bass, but he rarely ever picks. Like it's all tapping and this and that.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I'm like mesmerized when I watch him. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I'm always jealous of people who, they just make it look easy. It's like they just have such a natural faculty for that in their minds, or somebody like, the real super geniuses like Prince, who could just play anything,
Oh my God. And then he's singing over it too.
Yeah. Yeah. Just incredible. Just incredible. Is there any kind of an ETA on when the new album will be out?
I don't know. I want to say this summer.
Yeah.
But, I also wanted to say last December.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's, I'm very close. I feel like there's a few things, I got to lay down vocals on, I think 2 tracks. I think all my instrumentals are done, and then just kind of tweaking volumes and kind of mastering and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm hoping by June.
What's the most challenging part of it for you?
I don't know. I guess knowing if it actually sounds good or if it doesn't, because I'm not running it by anybody. I'm just
that's
going
true.
off my own ear.
It's all you, yeah.
There's, at least with the guys in Authentic Descent and stuff, we send stuff back and forth. Oh, this sounds good. Oh, maybe drop the vocals here. Maybe bring the guitar up here. Maybe fill in the bass a little more here. I'm just like, all right, yeah, I think this sounds good.
Yeah.
And then I know the songs too, so I can't tell, is it muddy and I'm just filling it in because excuse me, I know the songs, or
right.
If I sent it to you, can you tell what's going on? So things like that are tough. And then, like I said, sometimes you get rolling on a song or a riff or something, and it stalls. You plateau for God knows how long, months.
Sure.
And you come back to it. I give up and I whip something out over here, and I'll come back to it, and it still doesn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
Leave it alone for another couple months, and then I'll hit it one time and everything will just click in.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's the tempo I needed. That's the part I needed. And it just puts itself together. It's a love-hate relationship with the whole recording yourself thing.
Well, I've heard a lot of people say too, people who do it like you do it, where it's just them doing everything themselves, that sometimes you, if you're working on the same song for a while, for several hours in one day, you can run into this thing where you might start hearing things that aren't even necessarily there. You might start imagining, sort of imagining it sounds like something it doesn't sound like, because there's almost like an ear fatigue that develops because you're hearing it and it's just you. So, there is no one to say, hey, I hear this or I hear this.
Yeah.
And you start to question, am I really hearing this the way that it actually sounds? Or is some of this in my imagination?
Yeah.
Because I've been doing this all day.
Well, that's the thing. But, if you're you write all the songs and you play them so you can record them perfectly. Like, you know that song inside and out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You're hearing it while you're walking through at work during the day and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, then coming down and sitting down to record, you're like, well, I know what it's supposed to sound like. Even the notes that I can barely hear, I can hear them because I know they're there.
Right, right.
Can the average listener, you know, if I sent it to my buddy Colin, can he hear it, you know?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it's those little things, the little things you pluck in, or a little lick over here that's kind of quiet because you don't want to take away from that. Those are the things that kind of make it interesting too. So you want everybody to be able to hear that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tough sometimes, but.
Does anything ever come out differently than you imagined it? Have you ever recorded a song where at the end of it it's done, you feel that it's done, and then you go, well, this isn't what I imagined. You know, I like how it turned out, but it's not what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. I have a song that it's done, I guess. I guess I'm not working on it anymore, but one of the songs on the new album I'm doing, I had the riff for a long, long time. I think there's a video that my uncle took of me playing the main riff in like 2011 or 12 on Facebook somewhere. And now it's tweaked a little bit, but it's still that riff. And I had a whole song built around it before that I wanted to record. And then I got down to it. I was like, I don't really like everything else. I like that riff. So I'm going to keep that. And I worked on it for a little bit, and I hit a tempo change, like pothole. I was like, all right, I think it got to the point where I was going to give up. So same thing, you know, I put it down for a couple of months, and I was bored playing the same stuff over and over. So I went back to it. It's like, all right, let me see if I can make it work. And it just came together. You know, it's a long, so it's like 8 minutes too.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like, it feels like a 4-minute song because it just flows through nicely, I think. And now I listen to it, I'm like, oh my God, from what it was to what it is now is not what the road I expected it. But I'm so much happier I took that path than the one I was on before.
That's cool. Yeah. So, that's kind of the adventure of it. No, that's great. Well, we are almost out of time, and we'll close with one more song. But before we start to wrap up, Tim, is there anything that we didn't mention that you want us to know, or just where to keep up with what you're doing online with this project?
So I'm really bad about all the social media stuff. So I do have a Facebook page, Downhill Rollers Facebook page, very outdated, not much on there, but you can find me on Spotify under Downhill Rollers. I think I'm on Pandora and Apple Music as well. But mainly Spotify is kind of what I look at. So yeah. Excellent. And by the way, anything coming up with Authentic Descent that you want us to know about? You got any shows coming up, or? Not any shows yet. We're working on some stuff. We're talking to a few people, different things in the work. And we are kind of moving steadily on a few new recordings that we're trying to put together a small EP for. So
cool.
Very exciting stuff over there as well. You can also find Authentic Descent on Facebook, Instagram, and Spotify as well.
Outstanding. Well, Tim, thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I'll let you pick. What would you like us to close with?
I'd love to do Superman if we can.
Superman. Yeah, that's from the current album?
Nope, that's a new one.
All right, Tim Lagasse from Downhill Rollers, thank you so much. And we will leave you with this. This is Superman from Downhill Rollers. To close out